finally coming back. Is finally returning. Meghan's podcast, Archetypes, is returning on Tuesday, October the 4th, next week. And we cannot wait. We cannot wait to hear what Meghan has in store for us. And one thing I have to say, I love the diverse cast that Meghan has put, diverse guests that Meghan has invited to be featured into Archetypes podcast. Last week it was Mindy Kaling. This time it's Margaret Cho. The episode will feature a comedian and actor Margaret Cho in a conversation about Asian American tropes in the entertainment industry. As we all know, in light of the Queen's passing on September 8th, the recently launched Archetypes delayed the release of new episodes during the official period of mourning for Her Majesty, according to Spotify. And that's what happened. And the royal family's official period of mourning ended on September of 26, 7 days after the Queen's funeral. And now we are back. We are back. We are back. Archetypes is back. Archetypes is back. And remember, the reason for Archetypes, it is meant to dissect the labels that hold women back. Meghan once again has used everything thrown at her to make this world a better place for women. That what has been used against her to never ever be used against other women, to hold them back. And this time, she is discussing an important subject: the Asian American tropes in the entertainment industry that actors like Margaret Cho have experienced. So I believe that this conversation between Meghan and Margaret Cho is indeed going to be quite insightful. And so I cannot wait for that. Now, my family, for those who don't know Margaret Cho is an American comedian. She is an American stand-up comedian, actress, an LGBT social activist, and also a musician. She is best known for her stand-up routines through which she critiques social and political problems, especially regarding race and also sexuality. So indeed, I do believe that this conversation between Meghan and Margaret Cho is going to be quite insightful. This conversation is going to be quite insightful, and I cannot wait for this conversation. And my family, I have this to say also. It is quite something that I have to note is that the UK press has been waging a hate campaign against Meghan. Everybody knows that. But then the same individuals that have been waging a hate campaign against Meghan are the first one to report on anything having to do with Meghan. It's called the monetization of hate against the Duchess of Sussex by these media outlets owned by the Murdochs and also the Rothmers. And my family, I said a couple of weeks ago, or is it months ago, that this time, even when they're waging anything hateful, just as long as they watch Archetypes podcast, meaning that Meghan will be making even, more money thanks to more and more individuals tuning in to listen to Archetypes podcast. And that is the purpose. We need more and more individuals listening in, tuning in to Archetypes podcast to watch and listen to Archetypes podcast that Meghan is dissecting the labels that hold women back. And this conversation between Meghan and Margaret Cho, is going to be quite interesting because, we've had what has happened during the pandemic with the coronavirus, with the targeting of Asian American people. We've seen what has happened, the hate crimes, during the coronavirus. I saw that on CNN, They were talking about it. We saw actors who are Asian Americans talking about it, about how they've been profiled. And it was so deeply hurtful to see that in this world that there is just so much hate. And what I love about this is that Meghan is, having this conversation with Margaret Cho to discuss these tropes, these Asian American tropes, telling the entire world that obviously these things are just wrong. These tropes that you use or are using against Asian American people are deeply hurtful. So please don't use things that hurt others. Don't use words or racial slurs that harm others in one way or the other. So I do believe 100% that this conversation is going to be very, very interesting between Margaret Cho and Meghan. I believe that this conversation is going to be quite interesting and also quite insightful. And indeed, obviously, I believe that it's going to be full of so much emotions. I mean, when you're talking about tropes that are being used towards others, that those things are deeply hurtful. The comments you made, it can deeply hurt someone. Meghan, for instance, has experienced so much racism, so much racial slurs. She talked about it in the Me You Can See. She spoke about it, about having to be told that you need to send a photo to the router that calls your son the N-word. Those things were deeply hurtful to Meghan. She heard of them. She heard of those comments. And obviously, there also are Asian American tropes that have been used. Those slurs used against people of Asian descent. And Meghan is having this conversation to tell people that this is not okay. I believe that this is the purpose of this conversation based on what we've seen during the pandemic of that racial profiling of Asian American people. It is wrong. Don't be racist towards others. It's important to be respectful and have dignity. Have dignity. Respect others, irregardless of nationality, race, or gender, or sex. It's important to respect others. It's important to have respect. And once again, we cannot wait for next week. We cannot wait for next week. Now, Archetypes debuted on Spotify in August and ranked as the #1 podcast worldwide for 2 weeks in a row. The first episodes featured Serena Williams, who recently announced plans to retire from tennis, while ensuing weeks have highlighted Mariah Carey and also Mindy Kaling. Now, Meghan, who hosts and also executive produces the weekly series, aims to dissect, explore, and subvert the labels that try to hold women back. In early episodes, she spoke at length with Williams about the misconception of ambition. She conversed with Mariah Carey about the complexities surrounding the diva, and got candid with Kaling about the joys, challenges, and stigmas of her life as a single unmarried woman. Other upcoming guests include comedians Robin Thede and Ziwe Fumado. And once again, we cannot wait for Archetypes next week on Spotify. So please, if you don't have your Spotify subscriptions, kindly subscribe, tune in, and watch and support Meghan. Watch and support Meghan. And I love that Meghan is always so consistent in the fight against racism. And I respect that, about Meghan so much. I have so much respect, towards Meghan for that and so much more. Now, I want to hear your opinion about all of this. And with that and so much more, stay tuned to our next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and support our ever-growing family on YouTube. Remember, always say no to racism. In the world that we live in, be kind, be good, have dignity. Say no to racism and fight racism whenever you see it. In any platform, wherever you see it, fight it. Fight racism. Racism is evil and cruel. Always choose to be on the side of good, not on the side of evil. Be good to others. Be good to others. Be good to others. And choose love. Be good to others and choose love. Stay tuned to our next video. And remember, next week we have a date. And that date is with Archetypes on Spotify. Tune in to Archetypes on Spotify and watch and listen to Meghan's podcast on Archetypes next week. On Tuesday, she speaks with Margaret Cho in a conversation about Asian American tropes in the entertainment industry. Stay tuned to our next video and don't miss that. Don't miss that. Please don't miss that. Hello, members of Zesco Family TV. First of all, I want to say thank you for all your support that you give us to our channel. We don't take it for granted that you support this channel. I want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts for lending out your support and fighting against injustices, supporting Prince Harry and Meghan, showing them love. Love will always triumph over evil, and for that I say thank you. Good will always prevail over bad. Thank you so much for all your support. Thank you so much for joining this community, this amazing community of Zesco Family TV. I love you so much, family, from the bottom of my heart, and I wish you all the best. May you have a great day, and I hope that you enjoyed this video and learned a lot of things. With that and so much more, stay tuned to our next video. Leave a comment below, like and subscribe. Love you, family, always and forever. Sayonara.